Hi, in this video, we are going to talk about the freeze response in order for you to find closure. Hi, I'm Angela, and I help all women heal from sexual abuse, and I am a trauma-informed coach and a certified professional coach. And inside this video, we are going to talk about the freeze response in your nervous system and kind of be aware of whether or not you have these symptoms so it helps you regulate your nervous system and find closure. Now, over the last few weeks, I've talked about fight, I've talked about flight, and I've talked about fawn. So head over to those videos and check those out and see where you're at within your nervous system. Now, just because you're in these states doesn't mean that you're always going to stay in them. And just because you might be regulated doesn't mean that you're always going to be regulated. This is not necessarily about always being regulated. This is about understanding where you're at so that you can bring yourself into a place of regulation. Now, what happens when you're in a place of regulation? You feel safe, you feel grounded within yourself, and you're able to make better decisions. You're able to feel fulfilled. You're a patient, more loving, understanding mother, and you're able to really strive for your purpose and the goals that you have within your life. When you're not, and you might be in the freeze state, you may not be taking any action whatsoever. And so when you're not taking any action, the things that you really want in your life feel completely out of reach. In order for you to find closure, it is truly about finding the right tools and resources so that you can deal with life. And understanding your nervous system and creating body alignment is one of those resources that you really want to create within your life. Now, inside my workshop, we are actually going to dive into how to create closure for survivors. If you are interested in that free workshop, check out the link down below. I will leave it there for you. So let's go ahead and talk about freeze. Now, again, when we talked about fight or flight, we really talked about the sympathetic nervous system. When we talked about fawn and freeze, we are actually talking about the parasympathetic nervous system in the dorsal vagal area. It is very important to be aware that there are two sides, if you will, of having the parasympathetic nervous system. It is not just about rest and digest and safety and connection. So you really want to be aware because it does impact the way that you are going to help yourself out of this response. So when you're in freeze, this is tonic immobility. This is kind of like the deer in the headlights where your eyes go really big and you just don't know what to do and you're just frozen. You're just there. You're just like, I hope you don't see me type of vibe, okay? You're going to also have similar symptoms to fight and flight. So you might have anxiety, you might feel overprotective, you might feel like you want to run. However, you just don't take any action at all, right? You might experience this with procrastination. You might experience this with you're just bed rotting all day long. You just cannot move. You also might be disassociated from your body. And as a survivor, you already know that this could be constantly something that you're dealing with on a regular basis. And you also have difficulty speaking and thinking. Because you're in this shutdown space, you already know that it's triggered your survival mechanisms, right? Your fourth line of defense. And what's happening is your critical thinking skills, your thinking skills, your speaking skills, they are not online at this point in time, right? Because you're frozen. You're literally think of Elsa, you're literally frozen. You've got the whole lake frozen over because you were in this shutdown response. So what this might look like physically is that you might have a floppy low tone in your body. You might deal with low energy and low vitality no matter how much sleep you get. You have low motivation. You might have chronic diarrhea, whereas if you're in fight or flight, you actually have the opposite. You might deal with depression, helplessness, and hopelessness. No matter what you do, you just feel that way. Even if you still have symptoms of fight or flight where you're always on the go, you don't allow yourself to slow down, you're overprotective, you might still feel depressed and helplessness and hopelessness. And also you might be battling chronic fatigue, which is really difficult, right? Because it's like, how are you supposed to do the things that you need to deal with if you are dealing with chronic fatigue as well? My recommendation is that when you do have those bursts of energy, that you go and do the things that are going to move you forward. And as you regulate your nervous system and work with your nervous system and become more aware of where you're at and come into a place of safety, the easier it's going to be for you to take action, the easier it's going to be for you to feel fulfilled and move towards your goals. It's so important for you to be aware of this, because the more aware you are, the easier it's going to be for you to make those changes. And again, check out the closure workshop that I have coming up, and I will see you there, and I will see you next week for another video. Bye.